Welcome to 5 Good Minutes.
You're listening to today's inspirational message
On Holy Week
with Brady Randall.
Well, this week is Holy Week in the Christian calendar, which is the week prior to Easter, whereby Christians throughout the world prepare themselves in anticipation of the cross and resurrection of Jesus. And what I'd like to do this week is to give those of us listening an opportunity to consider the cross by looking through the lens of John chapter 13. And whether you're a committed follower of Jesus or you're exploring faith in Jesus, this text, I think, will give insight into the heart of Christ as he prepares what awaits him on the cross. And the first 3 verses of John 13 read like this. It was just before the Passover festival. Jesus knew that the hour had come for him to leave this world and go to the Father. Having loved his own who were in the world, he loved them to the end. The evening meal was in progress, and the devil had already prompted Judas, the son of Simon Iscariot, to betray Jesus. Jesus knew that the Father had put all things under his power, and that he had come from God and was returning to God. If you've ever watched a suspense or horror or thriller on television, you can be pretty amped up. Your heart is racing because you just don't know what's coming around the bend. Every twist and turn has you surprised or in shock, waiting on edge, just wondering how things will turn out. But this is not how it was or is for Jesus. The cross and all of its horror and significance were not a surprise to Jesus. In fact, as this text says, it was for this very hour that Jesus had come. Everything really in world history was leading up to this very moment. And though Jesus was dreading this moment, as it literally had him sweating drops of blood in the Garden of Gethsemane, he was not surprised by it. Here he was celebrating the Passover, which was the Jewish feast by which there was a celebration of how God had redeemed and saved his people in Israel from captivity in Egypt. That when the Passover lamb was slaughtered, they took the blood and they painted it over the doorposts of the home so that the angel of the Lord would pass over and death would pass over those homes. And here is Jesus prophetically celebrating this meal. And everything is in motion. Jesus knows he's going to the Father. Satan is lurking very much in the background as he's already prompted Judas Iscariot to betray Jesus with a kiss. And we read in verse 3 that Jesus knew that the Father had put all things under his power. He knew that he had come from God. He knew he was going back to God. And this is Jesus being resolute. The cross, Judas, Satan, this meal, none of it was a surprise. What Satan meant for evil, God meant for good. And so I hope that this text gives you a major source of encouragement today. Whatever you're walking through, that it's especially in the hard things where we don't know how it's all going to turn out, that we remember that Jesus is ultimately in control. That Jesus has the ability to take even and especially the hardest things and turn them for good. That's what he's doing here at the supper. That's what he did at the cross. And we know this because Jesus and God are already 100, 1,000 steps in front of us. We walk by faith. But Jesus already knows the end of the story. And friend, if you too have faith in Jesus, you know the end too. That suffering may await. Yes, it did for Jesus. Unimaginable, horrendous suffering. But so too does glory. And you can have absolute confidence this Holy Week because Jesus was willing to love you to the very end, accomplishing salvation for any and all who believe.
Thanks for joining us here today. There's a lot of great content to explore on Orchard Hill Plus and on the Orchard Hill main feed from the weekend. Have a great day.